Used to, I thought, not us, not me.
Tropical storm warnings in effect tonight for central Cuba and the Cayman Islands. Good evening, I'm Dave Schwartz. It's not a tropical storm yet, but it could become a tropical storm. That's why those warnings are in effect. It's a tropical depression right now, the 14th of the Atlantic hurricane season. There's the 11 o'clock update. We've just received the 2 a.m. Eastern Time update, which does not change the status of this tropical depression at all, other than to move it just a little bit to the northeast, slowing it down a little bit to 12 miles an hour. And this northeast movement is forecast to continue, thus the warnings for Cuba. 20.5 north now, 81.5 west if you're keeping track. That places it about 150 miles southwest of Cienfuegos, Cuba. And residents of central Cuba have been evacuated here, at least along the south coast. As soon as they issue a warning, evacuations are mandatory. And while that seems rather severe and totalitarian, if you will, it has been responsible, we think, for saving lives. Seldom does anybody die in a hurricane in Cuba. There's the center of the circulation right here. It's been encountering some sheer upper-level winds, have been blowing in from the southwest. Here's another vantage point of it. Here's Cuba right here. There's Florida and the Bahamas. And the upper-level winds have been coming in from the southwest, fairly strong, 20 or 30 miles an hour, and the trough is moving in from the west. That's why we think this tropical depression will continue to move toward the northeast and miss the mainland U.S. Now, a special marine warning is in effect for the Central Keys here in South Florida right now. Some of the showers loosely associated with this broad circulation have made their way up through the Florida Straits and into the Keys, but I think that's the worst that we will encounter. A storm surge of 2 to 4 feet on the south coast of Cuba, and here in the Cayman Islands, tropical storm warnings may be lifted later on tonight or tomorrow. So this will cross Cuba, move toward the northeast, and then venture out into the Atlantic Ocean, leaving the mainland U.S. free and clear. At least that's what the forecast calls for now. Generally, this time of year, we do see tropical storms. If they are to form, they form where this tropical depression formed, right here in the southwest Caribbean. Anything out there now behind this one? No, nothing. And the Gulf of Mexico showing all clear. Here in the Atlantic Ocean, well, there's an area of low pressure where seldom do tropical depressions form. We've got plenty of time to watch this. A very strong, also, southwesterly winds aloft. If you're headed for the Mexican Riviera, bien viaje, my friend. Have a wonderful time. No tropical systems on the horizon. This is the satellite picture back from last week when Tropical Storm Kyle hit South Carolina. Actually, it's right here. Tropical Storm Kyle hit South Carolina and North Carolina. You'll see that develop and then move out into the Atlantic Ocean. But now we've got another storm that's brewing in the Gulf of Mexico. It has moved across Florida now. An area of low pressure has formed off the east coast, and that's going to be a nor'easter, Paul. Good night. Good night.
Evening Edition is sponsored by The Home Depot, driving down the cost of home improvement.
For everything she's been, everything she is, and everything you'll be together. The 3-stone anniversary ring. For your past, present, and future. A diamond is forever.
My car's like a rocket, except closer to the ground.
I like being in my car. In my truck, I feel awesome.
Well, it's the only time I get the love from the ladies.
Stereo up, 2 windows down.
Hop in, no maps.
Just checking everything out. I'm flying.
Like I can go anywhere.
I'm going to Broadway, baby.
I'm going to Omaha.
Texas, I'm gonna get barbecue.
Mardi Gras, New Orleans.
Miami.
Miami.
Bozeman, Montana.
Cleveland.
I'm gonna find my mojo.
I'm going to drive to New York and buy shoes.
When I'm driving my car, I feel like I'm saving a little bit of Mother Earth.
I feel like a wolf.
Speed Racer Chick. A roaring tiger.
I'm super fly.
I'm the DJ. Don't touch my stereo and don't lower my bass.
Drive one of Toyota's 18 different trucks, cars, and SUVs,
When I'm in my car, I look good.
and it feels like good things are coming your way.
When I'm in my car, I am sheer perfection. Ladies and gentlemen, top 'em off!
That's impossible.
Welcome to the 21st century, Mr. Mix-It. It's new Prestone Quick Fill Antifreeze.
Quick fill?
It's perfectly pre-mixed for
Good morning. It's time now for your tropical update. And currently across the Gulf of Mexico, very quiet here. But the same cannot be said across the Caribbean, where we're still tracking a tropical depression. Right now, the system is very poorly organized. However, the forecast does indicate further strengthening is a possibility. But it also indicates, too, that this tropical depression may eventually evolve into an extratropical system. So there's still some debate going on here whether or not this will reach tropical storm status before it becomes extratropical. But if it indeed does become a tropical storm, the next named storm will be Tropical Storm Marco. Again, right now we're seeing a large area convection, but it's not very well concentrated, so still very poorly organized. It's currently, though, packing winds of 35 miles per hour. And we are seeing some very strong southwesterly winds kind of ripping in through this area, so that will help to lift this tropical depression, and it will start to pull it off in a northeasterly fashion. So with that in mind, again, we have a swath that will generally take this tropical system across portions of Cuba. Then eventually this tropical system will lift over towards the Bahamas over the next couple of days or so. And we still have tropical storm warnings too in effect. I think we have some computer problems going on here. But we do have tropical storm warnings that continue across the Bahamas. And we also have tropical storm warnings too for parts of Cuba. Now, the tropical storm watches that we had in effect yesterday for parts of the Florida Keys have now been dropped. But I think as this tropical system does head off to the north and east, it will probably bring some choppy waters and perhaps some locally heavy rains. And I think the rains will probably be enhancing across southern Florida over the next couple of days or so. Again, there's the swath taking the system up towards the Bahamas by tomorrow evening. Now, along with that, too, again, as we were seeing, we will have some very choppy waters and rough conditions across this area. Luckily, though, for the rest of the tropics, very quiet as we head out towards the Atlantic Basin, and the eastern Pacific, too, remaining fairly quiet. Now let's check out Storm Watch with Nick.
And we are watching a lot of rain moving into the northeastern United States. That area of low pressure that affected the south yesterday moving up the eastern shoreline with some rainy and some windy conditions. This low is deepening. That, coupled with the high off toward the north, is setting up a pressure gradient that is going to mean windy conditions. Already we've seen the winds up to around 15 to 25 miles an hour. That's steady winds around the New York City area. And we're continuing to see the possibility and actually the probability of winds 50 miles an hour and more. So a lot of rain associated with this continuing to make its way into the northeastern section of the United States. We're seeing some moderate rain falling right now around the Washington, D.C. area. We're seeing it around Philadelphia, around Atlantic City. Boston, you have yet to get wet, but you will, and you're going to feel those winds too. Maybe not quite as dramatically as New York or Philadelphia, but you'll feel them as well. Now, let's move into the weekend. Here's Cheryl.
Looks as if we may be seeing some increasing moisture spreading back across the Great Lakes in the northeast later this weekend. Some scattered showers moving up in this general direction. We'll have more showers and storms too across the south central states. And the rains lifting up through Memphis and perhaps some late day rains too for Atlanta by the time Sunday rolls around. Temperatures remaining cool across the north, lots of 30s and 40s, 60s and 70s, though, making up most of the country, and still some warm stuff across the southwest. Nick?
It's a savage weather morning in the Northeast. That could affect people in other parts of the country, too. You need the latest information coming up in First Outlook. Beginning at 6:01, we'll outline the developing storm sweeping into New York City and up to Boston. Find out when you need to buckle down against high wind and heavy rain. When storms hit major airports, much of the country can face travel delays. At 6:10 and 6:40, travel analyst Dennis Smith will help avoid problems. And also in travel at 6:40, an unusual test of confidence in Boston's new bridge.
And stay tuned. We'll have your local forecast and much more coming up in just a moment.
First Outlook is sponsored by Chevy. The cars you can depend on, the cars that last. We'll be there.
It has the strength of an F5 tornado and can lift houses off their foundations. And that's with water moving only 8.5 miles per hour. Are you prepared? Go to weather.com/SafeSide for more safety information. Outback Steakhouse, a proud sponsor of Project SafeSide.
Very funny. What?
For that long road to maturity, we'll be there.
Not every hug is as wonderful as a warm hug from Campbell's. A lunch of Campbell's chicken noodle warms kids up inside and out with golden broth, tender chicken, and fresh egg noodles.
Thanks, Mom.
Find a bowl full of hugs in Campbell's.
Yeah. I'm on a 10 o'clock flight.
Business trip, huh? Remember, you can achieve success anywhere. For example, I've caught touchdown passes in all these cities.
Jerry, but I've thrown touchdown passes in all of these cities.
I was here first, Steve.
So?
You backup quarterback?
Butterfingers.
You pretty boy.
Slowpoke.
But across the Caribbean, we've been keeping close tabs on this tropical depression. Right now, we are seeing some heavier convection, some locally heavy rain coming in towards Cuba. And perhaps before it's all over and done with, parts of Cuba might be looking at 4 to 6 inches of rain. The convection, though, continues to be kind of widely scattered here, is not very well organized. This tropical depression, again, is just a rather weak system right now with winds of 35 miles per hour. But what we think is going to be happening as it continues to work its way across the island of Cuba, it will eventually reemerge back over the open waters. And at that point, it may start to strengthen somewhat. However, too, we're also forecasting the possibility that this may soon evolve into an extratropical system. So if it becomes extratropical before it strengthens, then it may be unlikely that this will become a named system. But we'll just have to kind of wait and see how things actually do pan out in the future. At the very least, though, this will likely bring some very squally conditions for Cuba today, and eventually the weather, too, going downhill for the Bahamas by tonight and tomorrow. And as far as Florida is concerned, you're going to be bypassed from this particular tropical system, we think. However, there will still be some choppy waters and rough seas, and perhaps some of the waves just off the southeastern coastline of Florida might be approaching 10 feet or higher by later on tonight and tomorrow. Again, right now, this is a tropical depression with winds of 35 miles per hour. The forecast track does have it continuing to work towards the northeast, working towards the Bahamas by tomorrow afternoon. We are still having some tropical storm warnings in effect for Cuba, tropical storm warnings, too, up through the Bahamas. And this is where the worst weather conditions will be found from Cuba back towards the Bahamas. So certainly if you're making vacation plans around this general area, you may want to think twice about those because the weather will stay fairly rough, we think, for the next 24 to 36 hours across this region. Elsewhere, though, across the tropics, the weather's staying very quiet. There continues to be a tropical wave, though, to the south and west of the Cape Verde Islands. Nothing, though, off the African coast, so things are kind of winding down, kind of calming down across a good part of the tropics. Same story, too, for the eastern Pacific. Just a few clusters of showers and storms right across the Mexican Riviera, right around Acapulco. But other than that, no tropical development is expected throughout the eastern Pacific. Now let's head back to the States and checking out some storms with Nick.
A very potent fall storm pounding the shores, the coast of New York. This is not a good day to be out on the beaches of the Northeast. But whenever you see some high waves kick up, it seems like you'll always get some people out in the surf. But definitely be careful because we've seen strong waves bring in debris, making for a dangerous situation. Heavy surf, heavy rain, and strong winds, all byproducts of this area of low pressure as it moves northward here over the coast over the next several hours. it's not only the area of low pressure, it's also the high up toward Canada, setting up this pressure gradient that has made the winds gust up to 45 miles an hour around New York City today. We're seeing even steady winds, 30 to 35 miles an hour. There's a lot of rain along with this as well. We'll continue to see heavy rainfall in the higher elevations of central and southern Pennsylvania. Washington, D.C. is going to get a little bit of a break here. If you have evening plans around the nation's capital, you can expect to see a lot drier scenario than what you've been seeing all morning long. A little bit of drier weather coming into the picture back behind you, but still a lot of wet weather back toward West Virginia and, of course, northward, too. Philadelphia, it's going to be a little while before you completely get a chance to dry out. Same will be true here around New York City, and in particular, Providence and Boston. A big batch of heavy rain headed your way, and of course it's going to be horizontal rain with those wind gusts up to 20, 30 miles an hour. Heavy rain could cause some flooding here in portions of New York State, particularly the southern areas, and along Long Island you could see some ponding of water from New Jersey back toward the eastern sections rather of Pennsylvania. That's where you could see some flooding as well. The flash flood watches up for that area. At least an inch of rain, probably anywhere between an inch to 3 inches of rain could fall in many areas of the Northeast. And of course those winds still gusting well above 30 miles an hour, seeing a 37-mile-an-hour gust around Boston just in the last hour. So a wet scenario, a windy scenario as you get through the afternoon hours, and temperatures will be in the mid-50s to the mid-60s. A better day ahead for tomorrow, though, as things will clear out, this area of low pressure moving toward the north. Toward the Midwest, you've seen some wintry precipitation, a bit of snowfall into South Dakota, moving now into Iowa and into Minnesota. More on this coming up in Weather Center after Local on the 8s.
Mom takes Metamucil to stay regular. I never will.
That's what you think.
I won't take a fiber supplement that can get thick and gritty.
That's what you think.
I found a better way to take my fiber. Benefiber.
Benefiber?
It never gets thick or gritty like Metamucil can. It's taste-free, too. Benefiber even goes with coffee. Mom can have her Metamucil.
That's what you think.
Benefiber makes taking fiber easier.
Hi, I'm Jan Muller, and you've seen me demonstrating space bags on TV for over 7 years, with over 30 million space bags sold worldwide. Why? Because space bags are guaranteed to turn this closet into this closet. Simply pack your items into space bag and seal the zipper with our brand new Sure Zip sealer. Then take any vacuum with a hose and just vacuum out the air. Your items are vacuum sealed and safe. You can store space bags in the basement, in the garage, or under the bed. Since space bags are airtight and waterproof, no matter where you store them, no mildew, moth holes, or spiders. Everything comes right back to life. That's why Good Housekeeping calls space bags a smart solution for cramped closets.
And for more on that and the rest of the tropics, let's go now to our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. Steve?
Well, Carl, that's great news, and it's going to be improving weather for Cuba and also the Bahamas over the next 24 to 30 hours. But there's still some rain out there, and that can be a problem, especially in the higher elevations of Cuba. Let's have a look at the latest satellite image, and it's very, very difficult to find where the surface center is on this infrared satellite image, but the last report was that it was somewhere in the vicinity of basically central Cuba, moving northward at about 13 miles per hour. So it may be associated with that thunderstorm cluster. The bottom line is it's very weak, and it's stretching out with time, and it's caught by this larger scale mid-latitude trough. But notice all the rain still lingering and moving over the central and eastern portions of Cuba, and also some showers lingering down here and producing some showers over the Jamaica area as well. So until the system clears that area and moves away from the northern and central Bahamas, you're going to have some rain around. That's going to take about 24 hours, maybe 30 hours or so. But in the meantime, the threat for any tropical cyclone developing is now gone. And of course, we can see this big trough in here that's moving the wind very quickly right over the top of the circulation, wherever it is, at about, the winds are about 50 to 60 miles per hour in the higher elevations. So that's great news. We don't expect any chance for that to come back. Now, in the Gulf of Mexico, in association with that big cool push of air off the United States coast, it's cleared everything out. As that cool, dry air off the continent moves over the warmer water of the Gulf of Mexico, slowly modifies and makes some clouds and a few showers down in the southern Gulf of Mexico. But overall, along the coast, we're in great shape. The seas are relatively low for almost any small craft or larger craft for that matter. Of course, South Florida, you're in good shape. It's going to be a little bit cool in central Florida and the Panhandle tonight with that air coming down there. You may need a little bit of a jacket or a sweater when you're not used to that cool air. As you go out into the central Atlantic, we have one low pressure area out here we've been monitoring. It's south of 10 north just a little bit. It's been trying to form. The only problem is it's got some very fast upper level winds in here, about 30 to 40 miles per hour. And because of those winds, we don't expect it to form, but it'll continue to move slowly to the west, west-northwest over the next several days toward the Antilles without developing. We'll monitor it anyway. In the meantime, this area of cloud cluster out here is going to produce a very powerful storm, not a hurricane of tropical nature, but it's going to produce some very high surf for the coastline of Portugal and Spain over the next 48 hours. Eastern Pacific is quiet, a few showers off the Acapulco coastline. Watch out for some road flooding or street flooding over the next few hours associated with that. But the real impact out in the Central Pacific is a couple of low pressure systems, that one and this other one here that was a typhoon. They're generating some wave action toward the Hawaiian Islands, the first good northwest swell of the surf season, fall surf season, and the wave action is going to be about 15 to 20 feet on the north shore of the Hawaiian Islands. Let's get back to Carl in the studio now.
And Dr. Steve, in terms of climatology, what should the trend for tropical development in the Atlantic Basin be for the next, say, month and a half or so?
Well, it typically goes down rather quickly the latter half of October. Looking back the last 50 years, I did that about an hour ago, and we've had 9 U.S. storm or hurricane landfalls over the last 50 years. So it's rather slim, only about 1 in 10 years. But there have been some strong ones, including 2 major hurricanes.
Hurricane expert Dr. Steve Lyons, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have a big story today in the Northeast, and that is a nor'easter or something very similar to a nor'easter. Now, a more typical nor'easter would produce a lot of snow, very heavy snow, and we'd see quite a bit in the way of wind, but we certainly have seen wind with this storm. Winds now gusting to 31 in the Boston area, 32 in New York City, and winds gusting to 32 in Belmar, New Jersey. So a lot more wind through tonight. Gale warnings are in effect, and there is still some very heavy rain in central and northern parts of New York State. We'll talk more about this coming up in just a few minutes, but first, your local on the 8th.
Works like magic.
Bleaching action whitens teeth like no toothpaste. Plus White's Whitener Gel bleaches away stains to whiten teeth. Plus White 5-minute whitener gel.
This is your appetite. You're about to undergo a mind-altering experience.
Arby's Market Fresh Roast Beef and Swiss. It's a whole new way to think about roast beef sandwiches.
Bakery soft bread, tender, juicy beef fresh from the oven, and those fresh toppings. You'll reach a whole new level of roast beef consciousness, baby.
Arby's Market Fresh Roast Beef and Swiss.
Give in to your grown-up tastes.
Try Arby's new Market Fresh Ultimate Roast Beef and Swiss.
My car's like a rocket, except closer to the ground.
I like being in my car. In my truck, I feel awesome.
Well, it's the only time I get the love from the ladies.
Stereo up, 2 windows down.
Hop in, no maps.
Just checking everything out. I'm flying.
Like I can go anywhere.
I'm going to Broadway, baby.
I'm going to Omaha.
Texas, I'm going to get barbecue.
Mardi Gras, New Orleans. Miami.
Miami.
Bozeman, Montana.
Cleveland.
I'm going to find my mojo.
I'm going to drive to New York and buy shoes.
When I'm driving my car, I feel like I'm saving a little bit of Mother Earth.
I feel like a wolf.
Speed Racer Chin. Roaring Tiger.
I'm super fly.
I'm the DJ. Don't touch my stereo and don't lower my bass.
Drive one of Toyota's 18 different trucks, cars, and SUVs.
When I'm in my car, I look good.
And it feels like good things are coming your way.
When I'm in my car, I am sheer perfection.
Next time you...